All right, guys, let's take a look at this Christopher Ward C60. This is the 42 mil version. And I know I don't get a ton of these on the channel, and I kind of wonder if it's because when people buy them, they just keep them. And typically, the watches that come on my channel are, Sunday watch sale type watches. So the only thing I can figure out is when people buy these, they keep them. And I can certainly see that, certainly with this particular current run, the Mark III. The older ones are really cool too, but this one, they just went over the top with everything. They used the best of everything they could find and still keep it a reasonable price. And when I say reasonable price for what you're getting, they list them at $905 on their website, brand new. Now, if you're a flipper, you're going to take a hit on it. They don't hold their value, up to that, $750, $900 range. They actually drop down maybe a little bit less than that. So be careful if you're a flipper buying these new. I like to buy new watches, and I know a lot of flippers do, but and we're just willing to just take the hit. But this watch definitely, I think you can compare it to some higher watches like the Tag Heuers and like the Aqua Racer and like maybe even the Omega Seamaster. And I'll get into that a little bit, but let's talk about the case size. So it is 40. They say 42. It's just under 42. I think like 41.9ish, something like that. But we're splitting hairs. The lug to lug is about 49.25. If you count the non-articulating center end links, it pushes it out to just over 52. But they do curve down really nice, and the bracelet is able to articulate flat on the case back like that. So it's going to kind of negate, that extra lug to lug feel for the most part. I mean, it is the larger, I think they might even have one larger, but it is the larger model. Like you could get the 40, and I think they might even have a 38 or something. I'll put a link in the description. So if you're worried about the size, don't. They have other sized watches. This one wears great on my 7.25. I can tell you that. So thickness 13.5 mil. That's a flat, thick sapphire crystal because it is a 600 meter watch. So it's going to be a thick crystal. 22 millimeter lug width. Bracelet tapers down to 18. And this clasp is phenomenal. I like that they did the Christopher Ward on the inside. So when you open it up, you see that. Nice branding as always. And also on the deep engraved on the back of the clasp here. But the clasp is just perfection. I wish other companies would do it more like this. And I'm talking to all of them. I'm talking to the micro brands, and I'm talking to even higher up, even higher than Christopher Ward. Nice, simple, very smooth double pusher. The clasp mates up with the bracelet like perfect. It just kind of continuously flows. Super simple to operate. And on the fly micro adjust. Like kind of similar to how Omega does it on the newer ones, except for Omega you push down. This one you just kind of pull the bar up, and then you can slide it in and out. So just well done. Also, this is something I'm starting to see more and more. Sorry, I'm trying to get the zoom in, but you can pop the end link out, and swap a regular spring bar in there and do a NATO or something, or whatever you want to do, or a leather strap, but it's no tool required. So pretty nice. And then they always do really good case backs. So they've done really good press case backs throughout. Excellent case design. If you look at the brush to polish transitions on this thing, it is done so well. There's a lot of features going on with this case. I think it looks amazing. Excellently deep signed crown there. I really like that logo, and I agree with a lot of you guys. I think that's all they would really need on the dial. Instead of ghosting it in there, make it a little more prominent and maybe drop the Christopher Ward. But I think at this point, whoever made that decision is so entrenched in keeping that, despite, people's agreement or disagreement with it. They're just sticking with it. So it is what it is. Hate it or love it. I'm glad they keep the Trident on the seconds hand, because they did change the hour and minute hand. Remember, they used to have that teardrop cathedral type thing or whatever. I like this handset better, but again, personal preference. So if you zoom in, you can see really nice clean blue dial matching the bezel insert perfect, and framed well, printed framed date window cutout. Always nice at 3 o'clock. Screw down crown, obviously 600 meter. This is a higher grade ceramic insert, and it is going to, I'm pretty sure it's lumed as well. They're using a modern top grade. There's some smudge on there, sorry guys, but they're using a modern top grade lume. So I'll do a lume shot at the end, but it is going to be phenomenal. The handset is super, super clean and polished. There's no defects or anything like that. The quality control that I have noticed with the Christopher Wards on my channel has just been top notch. I'm sure maybe some other people have had problems. Most brands do, but I have not noticed any problems with the C Wards. So excellent bracelet, very comfortable. Now, earlier I mentioned competing or knocking on the door of much higher brands. I have to point out that just a few days ago, I was at an Omega boutique, and I was checking out the best Seamaster that's ever been made. No, I mean, people can argue, but now you're just, presenting your personal opinions. But the materials used and the construction of the watch and the movement used is the best that they've ever done. And I operated the bezel. The bezel on that Seamaster was not as good as this C Ward. That's all I'm going to say. The watch is totally better. They have their in-house movements, super, super great movement. This one has the SW200 in it, so you're not going to compete at that level. I'm just saying that on the wrist, the feel and the look of this watch and the bezel action, which we all mess around with our bezels, I know, feels nicer in operation than the Omega did. That's all I'm saying. And actually feels better than the Tag Heuer that I just tried not too long ago. So that is nice. And then on top of that, all their other polishing and brushing, finishing, and everything like that, it's a killer deal. I think at $905, if you're going to keep it, I would just go buy a new one. They got different colorways. They have different sizes. The 42, I think, is probably perfect on my 7¼ wrist. I had really only checked out the 40, I think, before, and I thought that one was like perfect, but currently a lot of the watches I'm wearing are a little bit bigger. I think I would probably go with this particular model. I would go with the 42. I think it works better on my wrist. So if your wrist is smaller, certainly you're going to go with the 40, and I think they might even have a 38. I can't remember. So you can't really complain about the size of this watch when they have the exact same watch in other sizes. So they have taken care of all the wrist sizes. So if you were looking at this brand or looking at other brands similar to it and you're trying to compare to justify your purchase, don't exclude Christopher Ward. I'm telling you guys, they're a killer value proposition when you're talking, compared to the higher ups. So it's a great watch. I don't know what else I can say. Big thanks to Steve for sending this in. I always like seeing Christopher Ward watches. I really don't get a chance to see enough of them on the channel, I think. I think they're excellent watches, and maybe I'll own one soon. Every time I see one, I start to think that. I'm like, it's that good. So let's check out that lume, and then I'll close you guys out because I don't want to go too long on this. Yeah, it's fully lumed out. This is, I don't know what the formula is they're calling it, but I seen an X1 on there, and as soon as I see that, I instantly think of the C3 X1, which is the lume that some micro brands are using. And that lume outperforms Seiko lume, and I guarantee you that's what it does. I don't know if that's exactly what these guys are using. I thought it said just Super Luminova C and then X1. So I don't know if it's C3 X1, but you can see it next to like the Seiko lume. It's just as potent and probably even longer lasting from my personal experience if it is the similar type lume formula. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next vid.